The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Good morning. Court Radio is now in session. Call 215-227-2727. When you've got legal questions, we've got the answers. This is Court Radio. And now here's your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome to Court Radio. Yes, sirree. This is Dean Weitzman, and I'm joined, folks. Well, before I get to that, let me just tell you that it's Sunday, April the 12th, 34 degrees outside in Philadelphia, but it's going to be a beautiful day today. I think today I can say it with authority, spring has come. That's right. And if you want to reach us in the studio, all you got to do is give us a call, 215-227-2727. That's right, 215-227-2727. It's the number you call all week long when you got legal issues, but especially on Sunday mornings, it's Court Radio. And I'm joined, you're not going to believe this, get ready for the one, the only, you hear him here every Sunday when I mention him. Just call Saul. Saul Langsam's here.
And a very good morning to everybody.
There you go. Your audience is really, really happy to hear you're here. You know, Saul does all the My Philly Lawyer grunt work, the dirty work, all the stuff that people need every day. He's doing wills. He's planning estates. He's putting deeds in people's names. It's like whenever I have those issues that are kind of retail law issues that need to get done and somebody who's done it 1,000 times, I always turn to Saul. Welcome to Court Radio, bud.
Why, thank you, and thank you for having me here again.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. The lines are lighting up, Saul. You know, we've got a ton of people already calling, but let's talk about some of the legal things that have been in the news this week. You know, one of them, a very sad incident and horrific, actually, is the Walter Scott death. Walter was murdered by a South Carolina police officer. And the officer, actually, Michael Slager, was born and raised in South Jersey. Did you get a chance to see that video?
It was a horrible video, and it certainly doesn't bode well for the Lenape High School crowd because they're all local here, and I'm sure they're very saddened by the behavior of one of their own.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him. I think he shot his service revolver 8 times, and all into the back of this man who was running from him at that time. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, we've seen this happen before where an officer has engaged in what folks believe is murderous behavior only to get off. I can't imagine that this officer will escape judgment.
I don't think he will, number one. Number two, the president, I think, of National Police, Fraternal Order Police, was interviewed this morning and for the first time started discussing his concerns for the mental health of potential police hires around the country.
Yeah, it seems like that is definitely something that they need to look into. This officer is going to go down, no doubt, and he should. I don't even think there's anybody who's going to call today who would have a different opinion. But whether you're calling to agree or to have a different opinion, if you'd like to comment on the Walter Scott murder, by all means, give us a call, 215-227-2727. Here's another case. This one goes a little bit further than North Carolina. It goes down to the U.S. Virgin Islands, where a Delaware family was sickened, and really drastically sickened. I mean, some of the children, I believe, were put into a coma as a result of, there was four family members, mom and dad and 2 children, who were doing nothing more than going away for a family vacation. And they were really sickened horribly by pesticides down there. It's more common than you would think.
And again, when you're traveling to some of the outlying vacation resorts whose sophistication is not nearly what ours is, you have to be mindful of where you are, what you're eating, and what you're breathing.
You'll recall we represented a family who the young lady was seriously injured in the Dominican Republic, having fallen from an ATV. Vacations in foreign lands can really be dangerous. They don't have the medical systems built up like we do here. God forbid, if you're seriously injured in Philadelphia, there's 4 or 5 major institutions you can go to treat that sickness, illness, injury. It's not like that in foreign lands.
Not at all.
Yeah. And so we have some experience representing people who have been injured while on vacation, and it's not an easy thing to do. It's a very difficult legal enterprise to engage in because oftentimes it's difficult to get the foreign companies to the bar of the court here in Philadelphia.
Plus, the laws are so different that you need local counsel in many instances to help you navigate the maze.
Absolutely. Hey, we got a first caller. Let's talk to Beverly on line 5 from Newcastle, Delaware. Beverly, welcome to Court Radio.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. So tell us, why are you giving us a call this morning?
Well, I'm giving you a call because I had such a wonderful experience with Saul. He handled a trust and estates problem for our family. It wasn't a problem, but trust and estates settlement for us, and I'm just very, very, very pleased.
Oh, I'm so
really
happy to hear that.
Why, thank you, Beverly.
Really kind of
I
nervous because I got through the first call, and I just want to say thank you so much.
Were you up, Beverly? Were you up in our offices?
No, I'm a listener.
Oh, okay. Did you get up to the office to see Saul?
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, you have to do
I
that.
haven't been up to the office. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. You have to. So he was able to help you and do everything kind of remotely for you.
Yes, he helped our family at the settlement, and I did see him at the settlement. But every time I called the office, everyone was just so kind and courteous, and I was kind of surprised because every time I called, it didn't matter what time, I got a person with a pulse. That's what I say.
Why, thank you very much for those kind words.
Beverly, thanks so much. And when you get a chance and you're in Philly, stop by the office. We're going to get you a Court Radio T-shirt.
Okay, and I just wanted to say one thing. Anyone that has trust in the state issues, to call Saul first.
Call Saul first. There you go.
Thank you very, very much. Have a lovely day.
You are so very welcome, and thank you, guys.
All right, be well, Beverly.
Thank you.
Wilmington, Delaware, huh? What was that? Where did you go? You went somewhere to a settlement?
Actually, what happened was that her grandmother passed away owning a home in West Philadelphia. And the grandmother was survived by 3 children. Beverly Smith, who called in, her mother's one of the 3 children. So I raised the estate in Philadelphia, and we actually went to closing, and we sold the property to a buyer. And the proceeds of sale from that estate are in the process of being distributed to the 3 surviving children of the deceased grandmother.
Well, let's use this as a step off. Did the decedent, the grandma, it was grandmom who passed away?
That is correct.
Did grandmom have a will?
She did not.
Okay, but that didn't stop the family from getting their due in this instance.
That is correct, because under a Pennsylvania statute called the intestate statute, if a parent passes away and there's no surviving spouse, next in line to inherit would be the natural children of that adult, that parent. And in this instance, there were 3 natural children who survived.
Now, let me ask you a question. What if one of those natural children passed away before grandmom did, and they had children?
Then the deceased child who had children of their own would still receive his proportionate share. It would simply be transferred and distributed onto his children.
Okay. Now, I'm sure that's not the case in Beverly's family, but what if one of the kids and the decedent, the mom or dad who passed away, they just didn't like each other, and they fought constantly, and you know what? The one child never helped out at all. Can the two other children in this instance, without a will, could they keep the bad child, the evil son, from getting the money?
No, and that's a very, very good point, and that's one of the reasons why we emphasize the importance of having wills prepared. There's no law in Pennsylvania that requires a parent to transfer their property at their demise onto their children. There's no such law. And therefore, if a parent has a difficult relationship with a child and makes a conscious decision that that child is not to inherit any of the parent's property, they reduce it to writing in the form of a will where they express the names of those children to whom they want the property to pass.
But how difficult is it to get a will? I mean, what is it expensive?
I believe it's very simple to do in our office. Simple wills in our law firm cost $250.
And how long does it take? What does somebody have to do? What's the procedure? If I'm interested in getting a will, I give you a call. Just call Saul, 215-227-2727. I make that call. I get on the phone. You pick up the phone, and what happens from that point?
We really go out of our way to try to accommodate our clients and their time frame and their needs. If it's a simple will, we are willing to gather the necessary information over the telephone so that the client can make one visit to our office. And during the course of that one visit, that document will be prepared. We will have it signed by the client. We will, as a courtesy to the client, have it witnessed and notarized, so our client walks out of our office with a fully executed will document with one telephone call.
Okay. Now, you talked about, and we're going to come to this in a second, but we're going to take some calls, but you talked about with Beverly's family, you raised an estate. Like, is that like raising a child? I mean, what does that mean? But I'm going to ask you to hold your advice on that, but I don't think I've ever heard that term before. Raising an estate, it's like raising a house. And what if you're like Larry? What if you're like 18 or 19? You don't have a family. You're not married. You don't have any kids. What does that person need a will?
Well, we all have possessions, and they all have some value. And in order to control who will receive our precious possessions, we have to reduce it in writing and leave a will.
All right. Let's talk to Brian from Nicetown, who's got a question about wills. Brian, welcome to Court Radio.
Good morning.
How's things in Nicetown?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are things in Nicetown?
Nice.
Nice. See? There you go. Badoom. Listen, Nicetown seems to be like a hot area now. It's like property values are shooting up in Nicetown.
Yeah, we got thanks to a lot of different entities growing here.
How long have you lived there?
About 50 years.
Wow. Where is, tell us, where's Nice? That's over towards like the Delaware River, right?
No.
No. Where is it?
Like, up here by, I'm going to say, where I live in the center of everything. Because one side of the street is Nicetown, and across the other side is Germantown, and across the other side is East Falls, and across the other side of the street is North Philly.
Ah, okay. All right. So you live near me. You live near me.
I live with Shea Victorino. We revitalized the Nicetown Boys Club.
We could use Shane back in the saddle again in Philly.
Yeah, we came back the other day and did a little job on the Philly the other day.
Oh, cool. So tell us what your question is, Brian.
Concerning statute of limitations on wills and things of that nature, I had a passing in 1998, and it kind of never was really
Who? Well, let me ask you this, Brian. Who passed away in '98?
My dad.
Okay, and was your mom alive at the time?
No.
Okay, and did Dad own property when he passed?
Yes.
What kind of property? Homes, cash, bank accounts, what?
Home, cash, cars.
Okay, and
The point is, well, for me, it's just the point of that. I can always obtain things on my own merit in life, but it's just the point of what's the word I'm looking for? It's just the principle. Some people like to carry the cup to you, so to speak.
So
to carry the cup is like, I'll leave with the cup while I do whatever, you know?
Well, let me ask you this. How many siblings do you have?
It's just 2 left now.
And, well, how about in 1998 when Dad died? How many were alive?
3.
Total of 3, including you, or 3 plus you? 4?
It's just 2 left now.
No, but when Dad died in '98, you had how many siblings alive?
3.
Okay, and then yourself. So that made 4.
No,
So
just 3.
just 3. Okay. So the estate is equally divided. Did Dad die with a will, or did he not have a will?
Yeah, he had a will, but I think it was doctored to some degree.
You think it was doctored?
Yes.
Okay. Well, see, now that we've handled will contests before. That's a special form of litigation where you're contesting the validity of the will or the competency of the person who created the will. There's, it could be that it was forged, like you said, doctored, or it could be that the person who created the will, the decedent, was under undue influence. Somebody was standing over him with a hand on hand and said, sign this will or I'm not going to take care of you. So there's a lot of ways for a will to be not right, and you can fight that. Pardon
me, I do know this, that he was under this medication.
Right.
Which the medication is known as Jergesic. Now, I looked up the word Jergesic in the medical dictionary. It's a mind-altering drug. Because it's strong to fight different forms of cancer.
Okay, so
and he's in his right. I don't think he's in his right state of mind, and I didn't know whether or not the statute of limitation had expired or whatever. But
well, with wills, it becomes more of a practical matter than a statute of limitations per se. But if the estate was raised, if the will was brought to probate, and they raised the estate, and the estate is settled, after 15 years, I'd say probably you are out of time. Well, what would you say, Saul?
I would say who knows what the status of those assets are that he's discussing with us this morning. They may be gone.
Right. See, unfortunately, what happens, Brian, is once that will is probated, that means that it's brought to the county clerk's office, and they disperse the assets under the will. Then there's, like Saul said, the assets are dispersed. They're gone. Other people own them. They could be sold 3 or 4 different times. If you're going to raise an issue with a will contest should be brought at the time that the will is probated originally, and you should not wait much time at all. I would say 15 or 16 years is too much time. Those matters which we've handled successfully with litigation were brought immediately by beneficiaries who felt like they were being taken advantage of. Witnesses and records become harder to find and get and bring before the court when so much time has gone by. But thanks for calling Court Radio. Have a great Sunday, Brian, and enjoy your time in Nicetown. All right, folks, if you want to talk to Saul or I, you can reach us at 215-227-2727. So, Saul, I'd ask you a question. What's the raising of an estate mean?
The raising of estate requires a visit to the local county register of wills office to file a petition and to complete certain formalities. If the decedent left a will, then the will gets registered with the register of wills, and that's where it remains. The will is not returned to you, which I mentioned that because it clarifies a misunderstanding out in the public. When husbands and wives call in for will documents, they seem to be confused when I tell them that they each need their own will. And they say, why? We're married to each other. And the reason is when the first spouse passes away and you probate that will, you're leaving it with the Office of the Register of Wills. You do not retrieve that will document anymore. So therefore, the surviving spouse is without a will. And that's why each spouse requires their own will.
Who is the Register of Wills in Philadelphia?
The Register of Wills in Philadelphia is Ronald Donatucci, who has been the Register of Wills now for probably going on 25 years.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's a name I recall seeing on a door over there. Do you know Ronald Donatucci?
Yes, I know Ronald Donatucci because he's, by coincidence, he's a classmate of mine from the great Central High School.
Wow. Wow. Okay. You guys in Central stick together. So, so Saul, your high school chums with the Register of Wills, and occasionally you have to go over and file documents over there. How do you do you have to make an appointment to get into the registrar's office?
No, there's really no appointments. It's just a matter of physically going over to the office, signing in, and waiting for one of the clerks to sit down with you to handle your matter.
How far is our office from theirs?
Across the street.
Across the street. Wow. 215-227-2727. Let's talk to, is this Sandra from Southwest Philly?
Hello.
Hello, Sandra. How are you?
All right. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm always happy to take a caller from Southwest. So welcome to the show. Is this your first time you're calling?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
So what's your question, Sandra? What can we do for you today?
Well, I had a small business and operated from 1995 to 2005. And I'm almost sure I did all of the taxes and everything that I was supposed to do. I haven't heard anything from the state until last week. I get a letter from the state saying that I didn't file taxes from 2003, 2004, and 2005. Now, 2003, that's like 12 years ago. I held on to those taxes because I was told to hold on for 7 years. And then I threw them away. Now, 12 years later, what can they do to me?
Well, first of all, what kind of business did you have?
It was a tourism business.
Okay. So you ran trips?
Well, when people would come to Philadelphia, we would take them through the city.
Oh, nice. So you know Philly pretty well.
Yeah.
There you go. I would say that you should bring those documents to your accountant and have your accountant contact the state. I agree with you 100% that asking about taxes filed more than a decade ago or not filed is crazy. And nobody would expect you still to have the documents that they were referring to, 10, 12, 13 years ago. So, but I don't think you should make that phone call. I think that you should have your accountant make that phone call and deal with them directly. And if you don't have an accountant or a family lawyer, then by all means give us a call during the week, and we could gather up the letter you're talking to and have a conversation with somebody at the state. But somebody should do that for you because the consequences are substantial if for some reason things go sideways on you.
Dean, we also have the good fortune of representing several accounting practices that do nothing but small business work and work with the IRS. So depending on how complicated your problem is, we could also retain their services to assist you.
I can't hear him.
Oh, well, that's because, he's a newcomer on the radio, and he doesn't get close enough to the mic. So thank you I just smacked him, all right? I smacked him for you. Go ahead.
Okay. We, in our firm, we happen to represent several accounting practices who are experienced in dealing with the IRS and with various taxing authorities. And if it was necessary, and we were given the permission, we could reach out and retain their services, put them in touch with you in order for them to assist you in addressing your problem.
Okay. So if you don't have your own accountant, what Saul's saying is give us a call. We'll get you hooked up with an accountant if that's what needs to be done. And you can call us during the week at 215-227-2727. All right?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Have a great day in Southwest.
You too.
And keep listening to Court Radio.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Sandra. All right, Saul, we're going to take a quick break. We got to pay the bills here at Court Radio. And, folks, we're talking about estates with you know him as Just Call Saul. Give us a call if you've got an estate or wills question, if you need some advice in that regard. Otherwise, give us a call on any question you got from a legal perspective. We'll knock it out of the park. We'll be right back.
If you have legal problems and need answers, call My Philly lawyer, Dean Weitzman, first at 215-227-2727 for personal injury, medical malpractice, birth injury, and more. Call Dean first.
He will fight for your rights. That's what Dean Weitzman is all about.
Call My Philly lawyer, Dean Weitzman, first. 215-227-2727. My Philly lawyer, when winning matters most. For 20 years, Center City Medical Center has provided premium expert medical services for Philadelphia. Whether you need musculoskeletal rehab or an immigration physical, call 888-945-EXAM. Our board-certified physicians have more than 80 years' experience from post-injury rehab to DNA paternity testing. To make an appointment at one of our 3 convenient locations, call 888-945-EXAM. Get premium expert care. Center City Medical Center, serving Northeast, North, and Center City, Philadelphia. If you've been injured on the job and are entitled to workers' comp, you need someone fighting for you from the start. Call Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law. Don't rely on your employer or insurance company to get it right. Call 215-512-1500. If you're entitled to workers' comp or it's being challenged, Jeffrey Gross can help get the money you deserve, and he won't get paid unless you get paid. Call 215-512-1500. Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law, representing Pennsylvania's injured workers for more than 20 years. It's a legal and financial squeeze. You're unable to work because of an accident, but your legal case is still not settled, so you can't pay the bills to take care of your family. But now, thanks to U.S. Claims, you can. If you have a pending lawsuit, call 1-877-U.S. Claims. While you're waiting for your settlement, U.S. Claims can help you pay the bills. Get out of the squeeze. Call 1-877-U.S. Claims today.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Hey, welcome back. It's Court Radio, and I'm Dean Weitzman. If you want to reach us, all you got to do is give us a call at 215-227-2727. And I want to thank our regular listeners who are growing by leaps and bounds. I think we have over 18,000 listeners every Sunday morning, Saul.
That's a wonderful number.
Joining us in the studio today, folks, you know him as Just Call Saul. Langsam is here today talking about wills and estates. And if you've got questions that you think Saul could help you with, if you can't get him today, you can always reach him at the office at 215-227-2727. We chain him to his desk. He's never gone. He's always there. He's easy to find. Let's talk to Ronald only because he's calling from Cobbs Creek, and I like Cobbs Creek. Hey, Ron, welcome to Court Radio.
Good morning, you and Saul.
Thank you, Ronald. What's happening down in Cobbs Creek today?
Nothing much. Is quiet.
Good. That's a good thing. It's Sunday morning in Cobbs Creek, and the sun is going to shine today. But, Ronald, you have a question about DUIs, I think?
Yeah, I have a question about auto insurance. Me and my wife were on the policy to two different vehicles, and my wife was arrested last year for DUI. And since that time, I think 10 months later, my insurance company sent me a letter stating they were going to cancel our policy. And I called them, and they would never tell me why they were canceling. It was about my wife. And so I said to them, I said, well, she's no longer driving the car, the vehicle, and they still canceled the policy. Now they're charging me, they threaten to send me to collections for a different rate. I was paying approximately $247 a month, and they would charge me, I think, $4 something. And now they're saying they're going to have a judgment against me for the rest of the money. What I'm saying is, how can they arbitrarily take my rate from what it was and charge me more without notification? Is that legal?
Can they charge you more? Well, if they go back in the policy period and find that there was some information that, had you shared with them, would have caused a higher rate, and you didn't, then they could try to back rate you. Now, for instance, let's say I've got a 16-year-old son at home, and I don't tell the insurance company that he lives with me, and he's driving. And 4, 5, 6 months later, he has an accident. And first of all, they might not cover that accident, but if they did cover that accident, they could say, okay, if you had told us he was in your house 4 months ago and driving, your rates would have gone from $200 to $500 a month. So now we're gonna charge you that $500 for the months that you, in essence, got away with murder on this policy. Now, I don't know the particulars of why they raised your rates or what they're claiming you didn't share with them, okay? But the general proposition or question you have is, can they back rate you? And the answer is yes, they can. And they could also have canceled your policy. Like, they could have said to me, if my son had an accident, we're not covering him, because you didn't tell us he was in the house and he was driving your cars. But if they do cover, and they probably covered you for your wife's DUI, if for some reason they didn't know she and you were driving, and they would have charged you more had they known there were two drivers in the household, then they can, in essence, back charge you. But the good news is that it sounds like they covered, even though she was involved in an accident in that DUI case.
Yes.
Yeah, and they covered her for it. So
no, it wasn't an accident, but the point I'm trying to make is they knew about it.
They knew about what?
About the DUI.
Yeah, but did
She's
they?
on the policy.
So she's on the policy. They knew about the DUI. I can't imagine what they're using to back rate you. Have they told you what they're using to back rate you?
No, they just put us in the high. They just put us in the higher for the last 2 months. They told us they were going to.
Oh, I see. I see. They moved you into a high risk category because of her DUI claim.
Right.
And because of that, rates went up. And before they canceled you, they're charging you more money. And is it?
Correct.
Yeah. And can they do that? Yes. And in fact, every insurance company can do that you go to. But I think there might be a solution, and that is that when you go to get new insurance somewhere, they're going to know that your wife was DUI. They're going to know that she lives with you, but you're going to sign a document that, in essence, you agree that she's not going to drive your car, okay? And she's not going to be deemed insured on your policy if she does drive your car. So that'll be their escape hatch. If she, God forbid, drives your car and has an accident, there's not going to be any insurance coverage for you or your family. But as long as she's not driving the car, they shouldn't charge you more if you've signed off and agreed that she's never going to be driving your car.
Well, she was never found guilty, and she's still going to court.
Aha, so it's just a pending charge at this point, and if she is found not guilty, I suppose it won't be held against her. But right now, insurance companies, and if you dispute what an insurance company is charging you, you can go to the insurance commissioner. But I'll tell you something, I'll be honest with you, my experience has been that that's been wholly unsatisfactory. I think the insurance commissioner is nothing but a rubber stamp for the insurance agents, for the insurance industry, and I've never gotten satisfaction. But that's where you're supposed to go when you dispute what an insurance company is charging you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
The insurance commissioner's office is in Philadelphia and Harrisburg, and you can reach them. You can Google them. You can get their telephone number. But that if you have a dispute with regard to rates, that's where you go. Thanks for giving us a call, Court Radio, and have a great Sunday.
You as well. Thank you.
All right, let's talk to, is this Kenny or Rennie? It's Kenny from Woodland. Yo, Kenny, welcome to Court Radio.
How you doing today?
We're well, thanks. You got a question for Saul, I'll bet you.
Yes, sir. I'm a firefighter, as we talked last week. There's a group out there in Warriors that does wills for firefighter, police, EMS, military, for free. They donate their services, kind of a kickback.
Mm-hmm.
And I got one done when I was 18. At the time, I didn't have any firearms or anything that I thought was significant property, but I did want to like some things that I was getting to college-wise as far as
Kenny, you're really difficult to hear. What did you get? One of those throwaway phones or something? You got?
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
A little better?
A little better. Yeah, you got to get rid of that iPhone and get a real phone like my Samsung Edge I just bought. Brand new. Wow, you're going to love the Samsung Edge, too, by the way. What a really clear screen it has. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. And actually, it's a good device to communicate, which doesn't seem to be the case with your iPhone today. All right. Enough iPhone bashing. You had a will done for free when you were 18 because you're a firefighter, and what's the question you have? And by the way, Kenny, without being too personal, how old are you now?
I'm 26.
You're 26, and when you were 18, were you married with kids?
No kids, not married, single, literally going away to college.
And what about now?
I'm with a girl. I plan on getting engaged to.
Okay.
So we got to keep that a secret. She doesn't listen to you guys yet, but I'll try to get her on board. And no kids.
No kids.
Like I said,
okay,
parents are older. I'm not saying if something was to happen to me in a fire, dump everything on them or her. Just kind of want to know what my options are, especially now that I own firearms, starting to own a lot more property, getting older. Should I update the will with that property?
Well, the wonderful thing about will documents are you look upon a will as a living, breathing document. When you prepare the document, it should reflect your needs at that point in time. Historically, people with wills will find themselves changing their wills 2 to 3 times over a lifetime. And what triggers that change is a life-changing event, and usually they're very positive life-changing events. You were sophisticated enough to realize that you needed a will when you were single. The first significant life-changing event is when you get married. You obviously want to go back to your will and make the appropriate changes to reflect the change in your marital status. Thereafter, if you have the good fortune of starting a family, you're going to be revising your will. When you have the good fortune of becoming a grandparent, you may consider revising the will. These are all wonderful, life-changing events, but the document you're looking at now is old and doesn't reflect your current needs. So the answer is it's very easy, very, very easy to either redo the will document, depending on how many changes are necessary, or to do a codicil to the will. We're asked to do codicils for our clients all of the time.
So a codicil isn't a whole new will. It's just an amendment to the current will. And I will say this. You pose a very interesting issue, because under the intestate if you didn't have a will, if you just tore your will up, under the intestate statute, your fiance or your future fiance wouldn't get anything because she's not an intestate heir. And so the law doesn't account for her. If you want to make an accounting for her, if you wanted to leave her anything, whether of a personal nature or financial nature, you have to have a will, and you have to have her in the will. So, absolutely, depending on what you think, how much you love her, how serious you are, you may want to amend the will, or if not, then you may want to amend it as soon as you actually get married. And as Saul said, it's not difficult, and it could be as simple as a codicil, which is a change to your existing will, or a new simple will. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And one last thing. You're in a potentially high risk business, being a firefighter. But
correct.
I tell people all the time, even young people, little kids like Larry. I say, Larry, you could be involved in an accident. You could be leaving somewhere, you get run over by a car, you're killed. All of a sudden, Larry, who has no assets at all, he barely has enough money for jeans, he's a guy who all of a sudden, with one accident, could be worth $1 million, because his potential is amazing. He hasn't reached it yet, never anywhere near it, but he's trying so hard. So I say, you want to make sure, even people who don't have assets, because nowadays with litigation and with guys like Dean Weitzman, if you're killed as a result of somebody else's negligence, you could have a lot of value in death.
Okay. Well, so I guess my last question would be, if I didn't have a will in place and my parents had, passed on, and my future fiance is there, the biggest issue I was kind of curious is
you have a hard time making a decision. I can see that now.
I know.
your possible future fiance. Go ahead.
Where would, I own a couple firearms. Where would they go?
They would go under the intestate. Okay, that's a great question. So if you don't have a will and your parents died, Saul would ask you the following questions.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have two older half-brothers.
Okay. No, you don't have any full brothers or sisters?
No.
Interesting. And did your parents have any siblings, uncles and aunts?
You say that for one more time?
Do you have aunts and uncles and cousins and an extended family?
Yeah, because under the intestate statute, we've had situations where nieces and nephews have inherited the assets of a family member that they did not even know, because they were the only surviving closest family members to the decedent under the intestate statute.
See, ultimately, under the intestate statute, Kenny, if you had nobody, if you're the last man standing in your family, your property goes to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Hey, aren't you happy about that? So
I've heard about that. It's like in Harrisburg, and they have a list of just random property out there, right?
Yeah, they just take your property if you're the last man standing in your family. But if you're not, it goes to extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles. So those guns would be sold because, they would, God knows what you did with those. And so they would be sold for cash. Larry might buy it, and then your estate would be reduced no matter what, whether you had cars, whether you had homes, whether you had clothes, designer like Gucci shoes, all that stuff would be sold, and the cash would then be given to the next of kin. And in your case, that might be your half siblings.
Okay.
Saul's not convinced. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Okay.
I don't believe
Saul,
that's the case.
Saul says he might have to research that, but it would go to somebody for sure, cousins, aunts, uncles. Larry would not get it for sure. We wouldn't allow Larry. We would keep him away because he thinks just because you called here, you're a relative now. All right, Kenny, thanks for calling Court Radio, and have a great Sunday.
Thank you. Do the same.
All right. Kenny's a regular caller, Yeah, he just loves Court Radio. And he always has good questions, but he's never fighting a fire. I mean, the guy's a firefighter. I don't think I've ever seen. One of these days I want him to come in here with his fireman's uniform, smelling of smoke. Prove to me he's a firefighter. I think that's just the cover story of. Yeah, that's my opinion anyway. All right, let's Joanne from West Philly, can creditors call neighbors? The answer is yes, they can. They can be real pests. Have you ever heard this before? Last week we had somebody on. That's why I'm not going to I don't need to talk to Joanne in order to tell her that, but creditors are getting lists of telephone numbers, not for the person they're looking to get the money from, but from their neighbors. And then they go down the block and they say, hey, do you know Saul Langsam? He lives at, 42 Church Lane in Havertown. And they say he owes us money. And they're calling your neighbors and trying to get in because allegedly they don't have your telephone number. But they get the numbers of neighbors to try to locate you. I remember when I was a kid growing up, that kind of stuff happened. Yeah. Back in the 20s in the Oxford Circle when I was growing up, they were doing that kind of stuff,
It's just more sophisticated today.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Sister Few Curls. Wow, Sister Few Curls. They're following us on Twitter again. They're always following us on Twitter. And also a shout out to Andy, my man Andy at Del Air Auto Body. Why? Because he saved Larry's butt. He put his car back together again. How's that car, Larry? Yeah, he gives it the thumbs up. Excellent. All right, if you got car troubles, Andy at Del Air is your man. Where's Del Air? Del Air Auto Body. Where's that? Pearson Street in the Great Northeast, up above the prisons, off of State Road. All right, that's it. He's not even paying for that endorsement. Doesn't deserve it, as far as I'm concerned, because he hasn't paid Court Radio, but Larry insisted. He twisted me up like a pretzel. Let me talk to John in Germantown on line 3. John. Hey, welcome to Court Radio. Good morning. Yeah.
Dean, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Hey, I just wanted to ask you a question. I've been going through a pretty lengthy divorce for the last 9 years.
My condolences.
Yeah,
I went down that road once already, and not again.
Well, what the problem I'm having is I've been through 3 attorneys already, and I can't seem to get out of this divorce. It seemed like opposing counsel and the judge that she postponed this thing with for 9 years seems to be a control in this whole situation where there's no way I can get out of it because there are more excuses and more things for them to find for me to get paperwork on.
Yeah.
To the point where
what county is it, John? What county?
City of Philadelphia.
Okay, so it's Philadelphia County, and the divorce was originally filed 9 years ago.
9 years ago.
Wow.
And I believe it or not, I've been paying and fighting these things for 9 years. I'm in a tug of war with her opposing counsel and it seemed like the judge to the point that it's either I'm going to either run out of money and give up and surrender paying my ex-spouse for the rest of my life, or I have given up everything I have.
Well, let me ask you something. How long were you married before you started filing?
I was married 15 years before she filed.
Wow, so you almost been separated as long as you were married.
Yes. Matter of fact, we lived in the same apartment, same house for 4 years before she filed for a divorce.
Okay, all right. Well, she filed, and you've had 3 different lawyers. So let me ask you this. What did your lawyers tell you why this was going on for as long as it has? Because it's unusual. I'll tell you that much. It's unusual to have
I thought it was myself, and I'm not a person that likes to keep running down to this court, but and I'm not in favor of this, but this is what I have to do because this is what the system making me do. But this is what's going on here. I had one attorney who seem to know each other all the time, and they get together all the time. So my attorney, I believe, got together with opposing counsel, and he surrendered all my rights to opposing counsel, and I've been taken advantage of for this whole time since then. I never got a chance to talk to the judge. I don't even go in the court now for the last 6 years. I never even go in the courtroom. They make me stay outside all the time, and so I don't even know what the judge look like.
Okay, so are you currently represented by somebody? Are you currently represented by somebody?
I'm currently represented by somebody who's I'm paying an awful lot of money to, but they seem to be partial to opposing counsel. Opposing counsel is controlling this thing. And the last time that I've been to court, opposing counsel, I heard her arguing, saying that this thing is never going to be over. So I don't know if it's going to ever end or not.
All right. Well, here's what I'm going to do. Why don't you give me a call during the week? I'm going to give you the name of some divorce attorney, and you can give them a call and get together with them. I'm going to give you the best, okay, in Philadelphia, and I'm not going to say that person's name over the air, but
I don't blame you.
I'm going to give you the best in Philadelphia, and they're not going to let you. This is somebody who wrote the book on divorce law in Philadelphia.
Yeah, because this thing's been ridiculous.
But I got to tell you something. Having gone through it, it isn't cheap. Okay, from a legal standpoint, you're going to pay lawyers a lot of money, but if you want competent representation and you want to accomplish the goals you need to accomplish, then I'm going to give you the best name there is, and then it's going to be up to you. 215-227-2727. Give us a call during the week, and what you know what? Also, I could do this very easily, probably later today, if you just email me at dean@myphillylawyer.com. Just give me an email. I'll shoot you an email back with some information. dean@myphillylawyer.com.
I certainly will.
All right, take care. Have a great Sunday.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Wow, it sounds like he was put through the mill, huh? All right, John from Germantown. Let's see here, Saul. We have... let's talk to Joan from West Philly. Hello, Joan. Joan?
Hello.
Hi, Joan. You're a very patient woman. I want to thank you for staying on the line.
You're absolutely correct, but my name isn't Joan, but I don't think you have your regular person answering the phone. I've been disconnected twice, but good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning. What's your real name then, if it's not Joan?
Well, it's not. You can call me Joan for these purposes. But I tell you, 2 out of the 3 of these things you've talked about, and good morning.
Good morning.
Saul. And I hope you all had a lovely Passover.
Thank you.
I'm not Jewish, but I know you did just celebrate Passover. So,
and that you're absolutely correct. And Saul, are you allowed to eat bread now again?
As of sundown yesterday.
I
even eat matzah. I like matzah. But at any rate, no, seriously. You all have depressed me this morning, and I'm serious about that. Because I've been through the business with a state court. My parents who died when I was younger. But I was over 20. I've been through that. I've been through something else you talked about. But let me tell you why I'm calling today. First of all, you did open the show talking about Mr. Scott. You know, I watch the news, and I don't want to see 10 stories on the fact that President Obama shook Raul Castro's hand. And I don't want to see any more about Mr. Scott. He was murdered. It's horrible. What else can we say?
Well, what we can say is that the system, in some regards, seems to be broken, and even those who are involved in the system seem to agree with that. And so I think from that perspective, it's newsworthy. I think we have to keep on talking about it, not for Mr. Scott, though horrific that was, but for the next Mr. Scott and the next Mr. Scott. And I think that we need, better, as we said when we came on, we probably need better control of our police officers' mental facilities. We need to make sure that they are stable individuals and that they're professionals and that they're not crazy lunatics shooting other folks in the back. Otherwise we're going to get to a situation in America, we're headed there now, where people pay no mind to the police and no respect, and they treat the police officers like they're an enemy state. And that's not the case for 99.9% of the police officers out there. I want to go on the line, on the record saying that. But a few bad apples can stink up the whole barrel. And we can't just say that it's not happening, because it's happening, and we saw it happen. And so just from that perspective, I would say we have to be careful. But unfortunately, for this purpose, Joan, because you're using a pseudonym. Is that the right way? Pseudonym? Pseudonym? Yes, I think it's a pseudonym. Because you're using a pseudonym, I don't know your real name, so I have to just call you Joan. Joan. But Joan, I can't continue this conversation, even though I'd love to. You know why? Because we got to take a break. And we got to play our announcements before the next show starts. So we'll be right back.
If you have legal problems and need answers, call My Philly lawyer, Dean Weitzman, first at 215-227-2727 for personal injury, medical malpractice, birth injury, and more. Call Dean first.
He will fight for your rights. That's what Dean Weitzman is all about.
Call My Philly lawyer, Dean Weitzman, first. 215-227-2727. My Philly lawyer, when winning matters most. For 20 years, Center City Medical Center has provided premium expert medical services for Philadelphia. Whether you need musculoskeletal rehab or an immigration physical, call 888-945-EXAM. Our board-certified physicians have more than 80 years' experience from post-injury rehab to DNA paternity testing. To make an appointment at one of our 3 convenient locations, call 888-945-EXAM. Get premium expert care. Center City Medical Center, serving Northeast, North, and Center City, Philadelphia. If you've been injured on the job and are entitled to workers' comp, you need someone fighting for you from the start. Call Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law. Don't rely on your employer or insurance company to get it right. Call 215-512-1500. If you're entitled to workers' comp or it's being challenged, Jeffrey Gross can help get the money you deserve, and he won't get paid unless you get paid. Call 215-512-1500. Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law, representing Pennsylvania's injured workers for more than 20 years. It's a legal and financial squeeze. You're unable to work because of an accident, but your legal case is still not settled, so you can't pay the bills to take care of your family. But now, thanks to U.S. Claims, you can. If you have a pending lawsuit, call 1-877-U.S. Claims. While you're waiting for your settlement, U.S. Claims can help you pay the bills. Get out of the squeeze. Call 1-877-U.S. Claims today.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back. I want to thank Saul, Just Call Saul, who's joined us in the studio today for coming in and answering questions on wills and estates.
My pleasure, Dean. I look forward to hearing from all of our listeners.
Listen, folks, if you've got unanswered questions about wills, estates, deed transfers, and the such, all you got to do is just call Saul at 215-227-2727. He's